place today. I'm George Martin, and I've been a beekeeper since 1970. Currently, I run about 150 hives, something in that range. Now today on my handout, basically the last paragraph is about all. It's the most important one of the handout. It's like I said, this paragraph at the end down there pretty well says it all. Though all the lost honeybees continued a pace with an average of 30% of hives dying off every year. That is the nation's average loss as far as beehives. I pretty well fit in that same group. Last year I had 150. During the winter I lost 40. Then I lost a few. But like I said, about 30% is normal. And there's several different things that causes it. A lot of it can't be contributed to one thing. It's a combination of several things. You've got chemicals, that's part of it. You've got the environment, that's part of it. The pollen that the farmers plant crops, they're all hybrid. The hybrid produces a low-grade pollen. So therefore, the bee is fed a low-grade diet and it starts off as a weaker bee. So therefore, it's subject to diseases more. Now, the second page of the handout is what the disease consists of. The first one is bacteria. It's American foul brood and European foul brood. The American foul brood is a real dreaded disease. It will wipe out a colony, and not only will it wipe a colony out, anything inside that colony will have those spores. Those spores live for 40 years. Basically, they recommend to burn the hive and the equipment. You can treat it with, you can take and burn the wood, char the wood, but then the bees does not like to live in there. So it's much better to burn it and then start all over. The treatment for that American foul brood is it can be treated. The spores is in nearly every hive, but you've got to do a treatment, and that treatment more or less masks the problem, and it keeps the American foul brood from becoming too rampant. Then you've got the chalk brood, which is not as bad. The chalk brood usually occurs in early spring when there's a lot of dampness. A hive will have maybe a little bit of chalk brood, but it's not fatal. Now it can be if the hive has been weakened by other things. But normally, like I said, the chalk brood doesn't create a large problem. Now, the 1.4, the nosema, there is two types of nosema. One we've had for years. Both of them affects the glands that secretes the honey. Now, generally in the bee's gut, that's where you'll find the nosema. One form we've had for years, it's creates a problem in the wintertime when the bees are confined to the hive. They can't get out and fly, use the bathroom. A lot of times they will have diarrhea or dysentery. Okay. If that happens, generally no problem. Now this other type, it works altogether different. It will kill a strong hive in 2 weeks. And one of the treatments for it is the fumadiel bee. Now, to get the bees to take this and like sugar water, they do not like it. So the best treatment there, take the top off, have fumadiel mixed up with sugar water, and drench. Just take a sprayer and drench your hive. Okay, the bees will clean each other off, and when they do, they ingest that fumadiel bee. That's one of the best treatments. And also, you want to do that 2 weeks apart. You want to do it one time, and then the next time 2 weeks later. Everything in treatment generally runs in 2 week cycles. And the reason for that, your bee, from time an egg is laid, it's a 14 to 18 days before that egg hatches out. And just like the varroa mites, if a varroa mite lays an egg inside that cell and it's kept, it's 14 days. Then, when that young bee hatches out, that varroa mite is on that young bee. The next treatment, like I said, will kill that varroa mite. So everything runs in 2 week cycles. Okay, now the tracheal mite, we'll go down to it. The tracheal mite is found in the tracheal tubes, and it affects the breathing of honeybees. The tracheal mite, it just like the other up here, can be treated with terramycin. At one time, you could get terramycin at the co-op. Okay, that has been discontinued. They say it's harmful for, I guess, human consumption and whatnot. But the bee supply place has got a little bit different, and you can get it and treat the bees with it. And it works pretty well. I've used it for about 3 years now. Used to, I made a grease patty and put the terramycin in it, and it worked, but like I said, co-op quit handling it, your other places quit handling it. Now you can only get it through like a bee supply. It's a lower grade, and you've just got to add a little more to it. But the tracheal mites, like I said, a lot of it has to do with the tracheal tubes in the bees. And the tracheal mites you can't see unless you put it under a microscope. If you put it under a microscope, then you can see the tracheal mite. Now the varroa mite is large enough that you can see it on a bee. In relationship to a human, to a bee, the varroa mite would be the size of your fist on a human. If you've got a parasite the size of your fist on your body, it's going to weaken your body. Now the viruses that they're talking about down here is carried by the varroa mite. In some of the viruses, there is no treatment that you can do for your bees to prevent it. The best prevention is keeping your varroa mites down to a minimum. And on the varroa mite, a lot of people have gone to this apivar. And the reason I don't take it out, once you take it out, then you got to have rubber gloves to handle it. But the apivar is a mild treatment. When you're treating bees for varroa mites, 2 weeks before a honey flow starts, you've got to take all the treatment out, and you can't treat until 2 weeks after the honey flow's over with. And a honey flow is when the plant produces nectar. Generally, our honey flow is from April the 1st through the middle of June. Sometimes shorter, very seldom long. And then during the summer, you hope the bee brings in enough that they don't have to eat their winter stores. At the 1st of October, your hive needs to have at least 80 pounds of honey in it. And if the bees starts running out of honey to eat, then any kind of disease can take them over, more or less. That is one of the worst things you can do in keeping bees, is have a hive to starve to death. But you come on down here to these small hive beetles. The small hive beetles came through here, or came to the United States in about 2000. Okay. It not necessarily deadly to a hive, but so many of your bees have got to guard the small hive beetles that it takes up the workforce. And that's more or less, it's an aggravation to the bees, because like I said, instead of having 40,000 bees and 20 of them out there working, you've got to have 10,000 working bees. You've got to be back here guarding the small hive bees. And same way with the ants. The ants is a distraction that takes a lot of the workforce to keep them at bay. And then come on down to the wax moths. The wax moth creates a problem as far as storing supers and things like that. Now, some people tell you the wax moth took over my hive. That you had a problem before the wax moth came to the hive. Once, if you've lost a queen, you've lost the heartbeat of your hive. And once the queen, you lose the queen, your population dwindles down, then there's no protection against like the wax moth. And now, this paramoth, it's a dust. And what you do when you're storing your supers, you will put a piece of paper down, put you a tablespoonful, and then stack you about 3 supers on it, put you another tablespoonful. This year keeps the wax moth from taking over your supers. Now, the wax moth will take over a hive, like I said, when the population gets down, but generally, like I said, when the wax moth takes over a hive, the hive was doomed weeks before. If you lose a queen, the first 6 or 8 days, the bees still work and bring stuff in. Water, nectar, pollen. Well, actually, if you lose a queen, the pollen stops immediately, because the bees knows that there's not going to be no young bees to feed the pollen to. But with the queen, if you can get a queen in that hive within 5 or 6 days, you've done good. They will accept her. But when you take the top off and there's a distinct roar and the bees are running the frames, then that hive been queenless over 10 days. Those are all old bees in that hive. They will not accept a new queen. So therefore, you've got to pull brood from another hive and put in there for the, it will have nurse bees on it. Don't never shake the nurse bees off. Leave the nurse bees with that frame. The nurse bees will feed this new queen. If it's old bees, they won't. So like I said, when you pull a frame out, make sure you still got the, in fact, if I'm going to pull a frame out, I don't never smoke. I'll just pull the frame up and put it into the hive. It's got to, it needs. Now, if you will pull a frame of eggs along with that, they will make a new queen. But the nurse bees won't fight. If it's old bees, they will fight. But nurse bees won't. So therefore, they can protect the queen. Like I said, there's little keys to things like that that will help you be successful. Now, well, let's go back up here on that American foul brood. Like I said, it's not the major problem now because most everybody does some form of treatment that sort of masks it. But to find it, you will have cells that have been capped, and there'll be little holes like in it. And with those holes in there, you can take like a toothpick and you pull that young bee out. It'll be real stringy. If it's stringy and it's brown, the best thing to do is burn the whole hive. That is the quickest way. Like I did with the European foul brood creates a little bit of a problem, but bees can overcome it. Once the American foul brood, once it gets started, the bees can't never overcome it. And you can walk up to a hive, if it's got a real bad case of American foul brood, and you can honestly smell the hive 6 or 8 feet from it. That's how bad that it gets. And like I said, the best thing to do is, in fact, you're actually required by state law to burn the hive. But like I said, our major problem is the varroa mites because they carry most all of the viruses. The viruses has given me more problem in the last 5 or 6 years than anything. And last year, like I said, the 40 hives I lost during the winter, most of them was to viruses. And a lot of it was my fault. I waited until October to do my treatment. When you're treating for disease and things like that, you want to treat by the last of July, 1st of August, no later than the last of August. The reason for that's when the population of your bees is the greatest. And when the population of the bees is the greatest, that's when your treatment is more effective. If you wait till it gets down till like in October, your population is already down probably half, then it's not as effective.
I think you just answered my question. But now, when you start treating, do you only treat the hives once you found it, or do you treat it anyway?
You always treat every hive.
Every 2 weeks?
Every 2 weeks. Actually, you treat it like the first day of August, then 2 weeks later you treat it again. That usually takes care of it. But if you go in there 1st of September and you see there's something don't look right, give it at least one more treatment.
I say. So it's just really 2 treatments in August, unless you need more.
Unless you need more.
And you don't have to, do you have to do it whether you see anything or not?
You won't even see the viruses till it's too late.
Oh, okay, I see.
Once the best go ahead and treat. Now, you'll go to these seminars and you'll have people get up and say, I use no chemicals, I do no treatment. I started out 10 years ago, the first year I lost 80%. I took the 20% that was left and went from there, and they claim that they built back up. They will tell you that. Generally, it's some form of commercial beekeeper. But when you go to his operation, you see this 4-wheeler with a chemical tank on the back. He takes that four-wheeler, him and two more people, one raise the lid, other treats. Raise the lid, they can treat 300, 400 hives a day.
Right.
The commercial people treats theirs on a regular basis. And just like you said, if they suspicion that that treatment needs to be done, they don't wait till a certain period. All of commercial people treats twice a year, July and August, February and March. Now, in May, if they're seeing it, if they're if their bees is bringing in honey, they don't treat. Only the ones that's out there doing pollination. You've got two types. You've got bees that makes honey. You've got beekeepers that use their bees for pollination. When they're using it for pollination, they do not collect honey. In fact, they have to feed the bees sugar water, syrup, or something like that to live off of, because generally a plant that's producing pollen don't produce nectar. And that's, like I said, your commercial beekeepers, if you will follow what they do, they will be more successful. If you talk to, just for instance, if you ask 10 backyard beekeepers like myself one question, you'll get 10 different answers. If you ask 10 commercial beekeepers the same question, they'll give you the same answer. I was in a seminar in Frankfort, Kentucky about 12 years ago, and I never will forget. The gentleman that was teaching the class said that he had played around. He said, I had 250, 300 hives for years. And he said, I'd ask this one, and he said, I'd ask that one. He said, when I started learning, is when I went to that commercial beekeeper and asked him. They will give you the same answer. If I have a problem, I will call a commercial beekeeper, and generally he'll say, oh yeah, we ran into this last year. Do this, do this, do this, and it'll take care of it. And I've always found them to be right.
Yeah, that's what they do for a living,
Yeah.
yeah.
It makes a big difference if you're doing something for a living than if you're doing something for a hobby.
Yeah.
Like I said, the hobbyists can get by with mistakes. The man that's doing it for a living can't.
Right. Now, are the ants the same kind of ants that we would have like at our house or something?
If you've got 15 hives, one of them you're going to have an ant problem. Now, that hive that you've got, I've got, in one place I've got 12, 14 hives, and 3 or 4 of them's got ant problems. The problem with ants, it's a distraction. It takes so much of the workforce to guard the ants. Especially what draws ants a lot of times is if you've got a feeder on a hive. Now, you can do 2 things. One of the best things to keep ants is take Vaseline. If you will do a line right around the hive, the ants will not crawl across that Vaseline. It's a messy, and every couple of times summer you may want to take it and clean it off and put fresh. If you take the Vaseline and put around that hive where the ants can't crawl across it, that will take care of the ant problem. Now, there is chemicals that you can put in the top of your hive, but you've got to seal the ventilation hole off. Anything that will run the ants off will run the bees off.
Oh, yeah.
If you put something up there to kill ants, you'll kill the bees. It's hard to kill one insect that's on another insect without killing both of them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Now, the ants is a major problem. Wasps, yellow jackets is a problem too. Now, if you're having yellow jacket problems, if you will take and put a community feeder out there, say like a hummingbird feeder or something like that, in the middle of your bee yard, the yellow jackets will go to that, and they'll leave your beehives alone. And a lot of people will take and put a feeder out there and put, say, sugar water in it once a week, and that keeps the yellow jackets going to it. If you've got a top feeder especially, and the yellow jackets can get in it, they will. I use a lot of styrofoam feeders, and the yellow jackets will actually drill a hole through that styrofoam and it's an inch thick to get in there that sugar water. And generally, they won't drill a hole big enough for a honeybee to get in, but they'll build really big enough for that yellow jacket. A yellow jacket can get in a smaller hole than a honeybee. But the yellow jacket is a major problem, and the wasp is not that. Now, you've got like a Japanese hornet. A lot of times will set out on the hive and he'll kill your honeybees. And if you run in a situation like that, there's a nest usually pretty close by. And gasoline is probably your best option there. It's like a couple of days ago, some lady told me she had a yellow jacket nest in her yard. And I told her, I said, now, just take about roughly a pint of gasoline, just right at dark, and pour down in that hole. And I said, don't light it or nothing, just pour it down the hole. And I said, that will take, if it's a hornet that's in the ground, gas does not kill them, but yellow jackets it will. Now, does anybody have any more questions?
I have one.
Yeah.
And it's not related to like the the pest or anything with them, but what can I do just as a consumer to help the bee population? I mean, I don't raise, I don't have hives or anything, but I want to, save our bees and stuff. So what can I do?
Okay. If you can get whole wildflowers and plant them, if it's a native, see, that produces a good grade of pollen. All of our flowers now, you want a beautiful flower in your yard, but it's hybrid, and it produces a low grade pollen. The old heirloom don't look as good, but it produces a fine grade pollen. I taught a class on harvesting bee pollen in Bedford, Indiana about 2 years ago. And that was one of my major topics, was try to stay away from hybrid plants in your yard. Like I said, they don't look as good, but they will help bees. If you can get some kind of seed that's got a lot of wildflower, that's the native, like I said, that will help more than anything. See, all your corn, soybeans, things like that is hybrid, and it produces that low grade pollen. And the bees, the young bees, when an egg is laid in a cell, then the bee puts a mixture of pollen and honey in that cell for that bee to eat. And if it's a low grade pollen, then your bee starts off as weaker. And now, the mixture of that pollen to honey determines the sex of the bee, whether it's a male, worker, or a queen. It's, like I said, each bee is fed a different mixture as to what it's going to be. If it's going to be a drone, it's fed one mixture. If it's going to be a queen, it's fed another. If it's a worker bee, then it's fed another. And like I said, the ratio of that pollen to honey, and then the queen she's fed royal jelly also. But basically speaking, a plant produces three things. It will produce nectar, it will produce pollen, or it will produce poultice. If, like your yard, if you cut a blade of grass, that juice from that grass that the bee will get, a lot of times you see where blade of grass is broke and there are bees on it. He takes that juice, it goes back to the hive, and that's what they use to seal the hive with, is that poultice. If the plant produces pollen, then they take it back to feed the young bee. If it produces nectar, they take it back and convert it into honey. That's it. Beekeeping is interesting. It's sometimes it's not too productive. And then sometimes it can be. Every year it gets harder to keep your bees healthy. In 1970, I had bees. I didn't learn a lot. Didn't have to know a lot. You could take the bees, sit out there, look after them a little bit, and they done fine. Long in the 80s, that's when the two mites hit, the tracheal mites and the varroa mites. And from then on, it was a downhill. And somewhere around the late 80s, the state of Tennessee lost probably 80–90% of their bees. And like I said, it took 3 or 4 years for them to come up with some kind of treatment to help ward off the varroa mites and tracheal mites. I talked to beekeepers during that time, and they tried everything. Cut tobacco sticks. They used tobacco sticks and things in the hive. Like I said, anything that they could hear or they thought would help, they tried, and nearly all of it was a failure. And then all of our problems is come from Asia. For some reason, your mites came out of Asia. Your small hive beetles came out of Asia. Your viruses, all of them started in Asia. Now, in Asia, there is a lot of honey production. You take the 3 major places right now, I guess, for honey would be China, Vietnam, and Argentina. And like I said, they say 80% of the honey that's consumed in the United States is from foreign countries. The honey was coming in from Florida. They made it pretty rough on them down there. Then they started bringing it through Canada in the United States. So, we got a good relationship with Canada. Florida done a pretty good job of getting it stopped. But then they started bringing it through Canada, and now I really don't know. We have a person that here in the state of Tennessee, Stephanie Tarwater, and she had worked quite a bit in Florida on the Africanized bees. And politics changed down there. Guy named Jerry, he went to the chemical bunch in the Midwest. There is strongly suspicion that he was trying to change the genetics of bees. Probably won't ever happen. He's pretty secretive about what he's doing. I don't think he would do anything that would harm the bees. Now, him and Stephanie was, and after he left, I don't think she's gone down as much. All of it is political. State of Kentucky, prime example. They had a gentleman up there that had been like a state apiarist for 18 years. And politics changed. They asked him for a donation. He said, I don't have that much money. They said, you don't have a job. And it's almost like that in every state. You've got a political, you really can't do your job due to politics. And in Kentucky, like I said, Phil Kraft had done a real good job. But they only had one. And we have the same problem in Tennessee. We've got one, Mike Studer, does a fine job. But one person cannot cover from one end of the state to the other. And I worked with the state legislators about 3 years down there with Mike Studer. We got a law passed that you sold honey in the state of Tennessee, it had to say 100% pure honey. It didn't last 6 months. Your packers threatened to sue the Department of Agriculture and the state of Tennessee if that wasn't taken out. You've got, like, your packers like to sue B and them. A lot of the honey may not be more than 51%. If it says 51%, they can say pure honey. If it says 100% pure honey, it has to be 100% pure honey. And see, that's what the packers balked on. They wanted, they wanted to sell pure honey, and it could be, like I said, 51% honey, 49% syrup. And like I said, it was we spent about 3 years on it, and like I said, it didn't last 6 months until they reversed it. And
Because the people with the money
yeah,
was
and like I
the
said,
ones doing the lobbying.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's like you said, the lobbyists and politics gets involved, and like I said, but you do the best you can, and you help the bees as much as you can. You'll have people say, do you feed your bee sugar water? If you've got a young hive you're just starting, you have to feed it, especially after the 1st of June, honey flows over with, the bees can't make it. I was at one of my bee yards yesterday, and there was a little ball hanging down about like that underneath. I'd always leave an empty box with some frames in it. Maybe one to wax moss is taken over or whatnot, but I always leave a box. And every now and then you'll catch a swarm. Well, I went up there yesterday. I hadn't been there in about a week, and there was that little clump hanging down under. When I took the lid off, they had drawn for the wax moss that had run 3 frames across there. They had taken and started drawing fresh wax. So I knew it's a possibility. Now, I'll have to feed these bees all fall and probably have to take honey from another hive and put on. But they showed some interest there, so I put a feeder on it. I had about 2 or 3 gallons of sugar water. I put about a gallon on it, and either day or tomorrow I'll go back and I'll change some of them old frames out and put frames with drawn comb, and then the queen's got a place to lay eggs. But it's to keep bees, like I said, you gotta have a feeling for them. And like I said, people say, do you feed your bees sugar water? You've got to keep them. And it's just like medicating. People says, I don't medicate my bees. 2 years down the road, you don't have bees. Now, I will tell you this. I had rather have a hive or a swarm out of a tree somewhere than out of my own hives, because mine is medicated and they're not as resistant as those that come out of that tree.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
You could possibly get bees that are resistant if you took your survivors and built up But about the time that you get a good strain of bees that is resistant to that, there'll be another disease come in that they're not resistant to them and wipe them out. It's almost a no-win situation. It's like somebody asks, well, how many hives of bees, or can you make a living keeping bees? If you're 30 years old and got $500,000 to gamble on, you might be a success and you might not. But does anybody have any questions?